welcome to the Tuesday edition of Talking Football, where we take an in-depth look at the events from the Premier League and the Bundesliga. And there's so much to talk about. With me here in the studio are, once again, football analyst Yoav Borowitz and Michael Friedman, who takes a look at the reactions in the global press. And today we will speak of the race for the Champions League spots in England, where things are now getting clear. But what are those English teams doing once they get to the prestigious tournament? Why are all the Premier League teams already out as early as the quarterfinals? And is Bayern Munich's home defeat something more than just a rare loss? All this and much more coming up. Let's get started. We begin in the Premier League, where there are 8 matches to go. Will these be the final 8 matches for Manuel Pellegrini as the manager of Manchester City? After the early exit in all other competitions, this is the only title Manchester City can hope to win. After some weaker performances, the citizens finally looked convincing again, beating West Bromwich 3-0. Wilfred Bony, Fernando and David Silva were on target for the home side. They were hoping for Chelsea to drop points on their trip to Hull. It seemed to be like a walk in the park for the Blues, who were already 2 up in the first 10 minutes before the home team scored 2 quick goals to level things up. But Loic Remy made sure the trip back to London is a happy one. Chelsea win 3-2. Jose Mourinho's team is getting closer and closer to their first Premiership title in 5 years. You would not expect the Jose Mourinho team to give up two quick goals like they did in Hull, and these are not the best of times in the season, and yet they're 6 points away, a game in hand, 8 matches to go. It would be a major surprise if they don't win it.
I agree. I think, first of all, yesterday in Hull City, who outplayed Chelsea, Chelsea could have conceded more than 2 goals, although the second goal was a big mistake,
Yes.
a gift by Thibaut Courtois. But I think when discussing Chelsea, I think we should acknowledge that for a long time now, Chelsea has not been playing their best football, not the football they played in the beginning and towards the middle of the year. But they're still managing to win a lot of games in England. They're leading by 6 points. They have 1 more game because a lot of their rivals also lost a lot of points. If we're talking
City lost a lot of points along the way.
United, Arsenal lately have been playing terrific, but they lost a lot of points earlier. So Chelsea, it seems that they're clear favorites for winning the title, but it's still not a done deal. But I think that in Chelsea also, they look beyond this year, beyond winning this title, which is obviously very important. But I think that losing to PSG and really noticing that if you compare Chelsea, in Chelsea, they view themselves as being in the A-League of Europe. So if you compare them to Barcelona, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, and even Paris Saint-Germain today, so you can say that Chelsea are not exactly on par, especially not with the top 3 teams. And they're not also playing the beautiful football that Roman Abramovich, the owner, would have wanted to see, because we know that his big dream is not Jose Mourinho, is Pep Guardiola. But Mourinho came back because the fans are completely in love with him. The guy is a huge winner. The guy is a club icon. He's a hero. He's a hero for sure. So he's back. He's winning a championship, but you don't see a happy Jose Mourinho and you don't see a happy Chelsea.
Will be very interesting to see what happens with Mourinho in the summer. Now to the race for the 2 remaining Champions League spots, where this may have been the weekend where things may have been decided. Arsenal won their 6th straight Premier League match, this time leaving Newcastle behind. Olivier Giroud was on target twice in the first half. Sissoko put the Magpies back at it shortly after the break. Despite many chances, they were unable to score again, and the Gunners take the 3 points. Liverpool knew they have to beat Manchester United if they want to stay in the race, but it was the Red Devils who smiled following the game. In Anfield, Juan Mata found the net twice. Daniel Sturridge gave the home fans some hope, but the hope of qualifying to the Champions League is now fading. Liverpool lose 2-1 and also lost Steven Gerrard to a bizarre red card he got after just 40 seconds after stepping on the pitch. His manager Brandon Rodgers spoke of this incident and the effect it had following the match.
What was Stephen? It was purely wanting to make the impact, and listen, he's made his apologies for it. Of course, in a big game, you suffer when you play with 10 men against 11. But it happened, and I think, as I said, it's a great respect to the players that were on there, that we kept fighting.
They were in a fantastic shape, and we beat them with their own weapons, with the pressure on the ball in the first half, I'm talking about. And now the gap is in spite 1 point behind, 5 points ahead Liverpool and 6 ahead Tottenham and Southampton.
Michael, Van Gaal speaks about beating Liverpool in Liverpool's weapons, but there were other weapons going United's way.
There were two big storylines of this match. The independent headlines read, Juan Mata inspires United after shocked Steven Gerrard red card. So this win for Manchester United was huge, but also, you know, the Spanish midfielder Mata was getting a lot of heat through the time, and the £37 million price tag, he might have just, you know, got it off his shoulders. This second goal was what the pundits believe to be possibly the best goal of the season. It was absolutely remarkable. And later, Van Gaal, he said, Juan Mata is always one of my better players. Now he's playing as a fast right winger, and the combination with him and Herrera give more opportunities. So it's very exciting to see with him. And the other storyline was about Steven Gerrard, how he lost his cool. It's not something that you see too often with this player. Only 38 seconds after getting onto the pitch. It's a shocker for him.
Yoav, let's speak a bit about Manchester United. Certainly not the big team the fans want to see, but they will probably play next year in the Champions League. That's far better than they did under David Moyes last year.
Yes. It's better than they did under David Moyes. It's not as good as they did under Sir Alex Ferguson. United yesterday played a very impressive game, especially first half. But, you know, the whole game, they outplayed Liverpool. They should have won more than 2-1. Let's not forget, Liverpool came pretty strong into this game, but United were so much better. I think Brendan Rodgers made a lot of mistakes. I think even not playing Steven Gerrard in the starting 11 in his last game against Manchester United, I think part of the red card was just Gerrard's frustration with not starting that game and already coming when his team is behind. And, you know, it's not an excuse. And still, I think, you know, like playing Raheem Sterling, so far away from the goal as a right winger, as a half defender, half midfielder, really was obscure, you know, playing with just one striker. A lot of mistakes that Rodgers made, I think. And
a lot of mistakes. A lot of mistakes, as you say, will probably cost them the Champions League ticket, as we'll see.
It seems that way because Arsenal are very strong and Manchester United are playing better, and both those teams, of course Manchester City and Chelsea, they have more points. You know, there's a gap now being created. It's very problematic for Liverpool.
You speak about the gap. So let's see what the top of the Premier League looks now. Chelsea are first with 67 points and a game in hand. Manchester City are next with 61. We can wonder what would have happened if Arsenal looked like this the entire season. Their renaissance seems too late for a title challenge, but it will probably guarantee their spot in next year's Champions League. The Gunners are third with 60 points, one more than Manchester United in fourth. Liverpool's home defeat leaves them in fifth place with 54 points. So we may soon know who will be the 4 English teams playing in the Champions League next season. Another question is, how do they perform in the Champions League once they get there? It was not long ago when Premier League teams dominated Europe's top football competition, but now there is not even one of them among the final 8 teams in the Champions League. And it's not the first time this has happened in recent years. Lees Brom and Michael Friedman with a story.
The British have always had a complicated relationship with the European mainland. So has their football, especially this season. The Europa League's last English representative was Everton, but was then eliminated by Dynamo Kiev. Chelsea was knocked out by PSG, Arsenal by Monaco, and Manchester City lost against Barcelona in the round of 16 of the Champions League, leaving not a single English team in any European competition. A situation which Chelsea manager Jose Mourinho finds quite uncommon.
I think it's the second time I don't reach quarterfinal in all my career.
Nor is this a rare situation. This is the second time in 3 years in which no English teams made it to the final 8 of the Champions League. Arsenal manager Arsene Wenger is still trying to look on the bright side.
Yes, I would take it separately from the other years. I'm very disappointed to go out tonight, of course, but we have a lot of positives in the game. The overall situation is very disappointing.
The early exit by the English teams is especially surprising considering that the Premier League is the richest in Europe, which is of course makes the first choice for many of the top players. So why are they still failing on the European front? Some may say the reason is the fact that the Premier League has no winter break. While all the other top clubs have some time to recharge their batteries in late December, for the Premier League, teams have the busiest time of the year with the Christmas frenzy. Maybe with such big money around, the Premier League's top teams should have squads that are big enough to deal with the fatigue. But if they can't, they should still try to find something positive to say, even if their fans won't buy it.
So in the current moment, we will analyze and we'll see which is what we must do to try to continue improving. But I think that at least the two last year we improved.
Yes, the Premier League is tough and competitive, far more than the Spanish League, who is far more successful when it comes to European competitions. Yet with 3.2 billion euros per year on TV rights, the clubs can and should do a better job once they go and play in the continent. The present may not be so bright for the English teams in Europe. Does this mean something about the future? Impossible to tell. The Bundesliga sent 2 teams to the final 2 years ago, and its teams have been doing well in Europe in recent years. But 10 years ago, the Bundesliga went through the same situation the Premier League is going through these days. Just like in any other race, sometimes you're ahead, sometimes you're behind, and only time will tell how the Premier League will respond.
You have all these factors, the Christmas frenzy, the intensity. They were true in 2005 when Liverpool won, in 2008 when we had an all-English final, in 2012 when Chelsea won. What is wrong now?
First of all, I think it's a bad year. And I think that if you look in the last few years, I think the top teams in England are not as strong as they used to be, because Manchester United in the post-Ferguson era is not as strong. Arsenal, they've been struggling.
Chelsea, we just mentioned.
Chelsea, Liverpool. So I think the gap between those teams and the Bayern Munichs and the Real Madrid and Barcelona, I think, and even Borussia Dortmund a few years ago, the gap is widened. And I think also the intensity in England is more severe. Talking about the Christmas season, not taking a break, having all those very aggressive games. And just the teams were not good enough this year. And we saw even with Liverpool and with Everton being eliminated from the Europa League, and Liverpool being eliminated from the Champions League by a Swiss team, Basel. Really, you know, it's an embarrassment. And Chelsea not being able to beat PSG at home, even playing 11 against 10 players. Man United not even advancing to the Champions League. And Arsenal losing to a French team, Monaco, you know, which is not a powerhouse in France even.
Michael,
it's a very bad year.
Any answers in the press as to this situation?
The press is also equally confused and asking questions. But the Guardian headlines read, Premier League clubs, Champions League, failing look like a trend, not a blip. So the failure, it's an embarrassment, but it's something that we're seeing again and again. Many excuses like the winter break and they're playing so much extra football. But the media is continually asking the same questions. What is happening to the best teams in England? Why are they not being able to face off against the best in Europe?
No, a lot of questions, a lot of answers to be looking for in the 2015-16 season when it comes to English teams in Europe. And now it's time to look at the Bundesliga. We start by taking a look at the results of this past weekend and the German league, where a strange event took place. Bayern Munich actually lost. For only the second time this season and the first time at home, the Bavarians are defeated. Borussia Mönchengladbach returned from the Allianz Arena with the 3 points after winning 2-0. Brazilian midfielder Rafael scoring both goals for the visitors. Wolfsburg did not use the opportunity to narrow the gap from the top, as they only managed a 1-0 draw in Mainz. And after the disappointing exit from the Champions League, Borussia Dortmund managed a 3-2 victory over Hannover. The gap at the top is now down to only 10 points. Bayern Munich are first with 64 points. Wolfsburg are second with 54. And the big winners of this weekend, Borussia Mönchengladbach, are third with 47. Yoav, should we make something out of this loss? Because at the end of the day, it's not like there's any challenge for them in the Bundesliga. Porto will probably not challenge them soon in the Champions League. Up until the beginning of May, there's nothing really difficult coming their way.
On the one side, I wouldn't be concerned because really this team didn't lose a lot. But on the other hand, when you have such a dominant team, every loss should be a concern because this team should just not be losing. And especially when we're nearing the end of the year. So you start asking questions. They'll be playing Porto. Heavy favorites against Porto, but Porto is not such a bad team. You know, upsets can happen. And in Germany, there's no contest. It's still the most uncompetitive league in Europe, unfortunately. So Bayern Munich still in the driver's seat for sure. They'll win another championship, but they're not playing for the German championship. They're playing for the European Championship, and over there it's going to be pretty tough because we just saw yesterday Real Madrid, the current champions, very strong. Barcelona.
We have big teams coming their way. Yoav Borowitz, Michael Friedman, thank you much for joining us.
Thank you.
And that's it for Talking Football this week. Don't forget you can watch us anytime on our website at i24news.tv. We're also on Facebook and on Twitter. We'll be back next week with European qualifiers and some very exciting matchups coming up. Till then, thank you for watching and have a beautiful day.